everybody. Anastasia here. Um, it's kind of been a pretty challenging last couple of weeks. Feels like not necessarily because of work or anything even in my personal life. It's just what's happening to the world out there. And I actually had a friend say something like, manufactured rage or something. And I said, no, like, I think, I don't know that definitely there are moments when I'm very angry about what feels like the degradation of, I don't know, our rights, democracy, due process, free speech, First Amendment. Anyway, and violence seems like all around. But yeah, so I'm definitely moments when I can feel angry, but a lot of it's just sadness, just a lot of sadness. I, I definitely bought into the American dream, you know, and I still believe in it. I still believe in Americans and the people of this country that are committed to making it better. I certainly invest my time, efforts, and yes, fiscal support that way, um, in the belief that we will overcome and from that maybe even be better than where we were before. I don't know. And I'm so encouraged by the number of people that are supporting and that continue to stay committed. It's just, I don't know, it's a challenging time right now. And I, yeah, so I've been reflecting on that a lot and just trying to survive, you know, all the things that are happening right now. And the crazy thing is, there are a lot of people that say, oh, you don't want to be political. But I don't think this is just about politics anymore. This is about humanity, what it means to be human. So, today's topic is the importance of being kind and how that can have a reverberating effect on your career and the people that you meet along the way and then that you meet again years later. It's kind of crazy how especially in my particular industry, the world's pretty small. Like we all kind of know each other. Inevitably, I'll know somebody from a company that is not even like, I'll just you just kind of know people throughout your career, and they all get seeded to all these different organizations, and the next thing you know, you're interviewing at a company, you look it up on LinkedIn and you see, oh, I know that person, I worked with that person before. um and I feel like as you move through the ranks, let's just say, the people that you worked with, they end up sitting in high positions, and you're trying to apply. It helps to have that network. Actually, someone that I used to work with, uh, I can give his name. His name was Mike. He was a leader that I really admired, really liked him. He was very honest. He was very fair. Um, he kind of always, I feel like he always had a level head, which I appreciated. When he joined our company, he actually really freaked me out the first week. I was like, explain these numbers. And I was like, huh? And I just like started this new job, like sat in that seat for like a week, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I can't remember. I think it was 23. But anyway, but Mike and I have had a good relationship, and I remember we were catching a flight. We actually didn't know that we were on the same flight. We were catching a flight to Kentucky, and getting on the flight, he was telling me about, I think, his weekend or something, and how he had talked to some people, and or maybe I can't remember. They were at some dinner. He was at some dinner, and there were a variety of different people in the room, of like VPs and directors and C-suite folks, and like just they were just part of this whatever event that he was at. And I said, "Dang, Mike!" I'm like, I wish I was part of that club. And I think I was at this point a director, um, and I'd been with a company that we worked at together. I think it was like maybe my eighth year, something like that. No, 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 no. Maybe my year, seventh year. Um. Anyway, so we were getting on the plane, and I had said that, and he'd said something like don't like when you're at my stage in his career. We were obviously. I think he was maybe it was my seventh year, like maybe 15 plus years my senior. And he had said, he's always been a very kind person to me. He was one of the first people to say, like, "Oh, I bet you I'll be working for you someday." And I was like, "No way." He's always been very kind. He's a very kind man. And anyway, and he said, when you get to my stage, at his stage in his career, he said, you'd be surprised. Your peers are going to be the ones sitting in those seats. And he was essentially trying to explain to me that it's not like, I mean, some people, you're born into having that pass of like already having access to those rooms. But he said, he was essentially saying, like, when I get to his level, it's my peers that they're also going to be in those same seats, and I'll also have access to the same rooms, and that you kind of grow into it to an extent. It's not like you just some people already have that golden ticket, but I guess for the most part, like, it's how you are, and where you if you keep striving to keep like leveraging and inching your way up or up the ladder or whatever, those are going to be your compatriots at some point. Like, it's not like a club that you get access to from the beginning. It's a club that you grow into, or you earn access to as you progress in your career. And I was like, huh, that's a really good thing to note. And it just helped me understand, like, younger Anastasia was very enterprising. She was like all about, I don't know, breaking doors down or whatever. Um, and I just never forgot it. And Mike gave me a lot of great advice. That was one thing that he said. Another thing that he said to me, and the comment that he made about, "I'll be working for you someday," I'm sure he was just being nice, but he said that to me when I was like, when I was still a manager, and I was, I don't know, like I'd worked so hard to get to that point, and him saying that made me feel like, okay, validated in the hard work, and it just made me want to work harder and harder and harder. Because to me, working hard at that point wasn't just about working hard. Working hard is how I got smarter. It's how I learned more about what it took to be better at the job, That's why I don't think there's a shortcut to hard work, really, because that's how you get better. You don't really get better until you take everything that you know and you get the chance to apply it and put it into practice. And so anyway, so that's where hard work, that's what hard work gets you, is experience and upskilling and up leveling, and it pushes you to keep going and going and going. Even this at this stage of my career, I'm still doing that. I'm still invested in working hard and trying to get to the maybe not the next level right now, but definitely the next level in my learning and my growth. Like, that's super. I prize that, I think, more than anything at the moment. And I realize I think I've always been that way, like, at least so far in my career. And I don't know that I'm ever gonna not be that way. But so if I can give you any pro tip, it's that, right? Work hard, learn and learn and learn and learn, and just keep getting better. Like, focus on getting better. But to go back to the original topic of being kind. So Mike had given me all these different nuggets, and actually another piece of advice that he gave me, there was like a huge thing where merger layoffs, etc. And he said sometimes those are opportunities, if you're there to fill in, there's like a vacuum of leadership to fill in those gaps. And I thought that was really good advice too. Anyway, but to go back to being kind. So obviously I remember Mike. And if ever I am in a position to pay it forward for him, I will pay it forward 100%. And what I mean by being kind is just to know that the reputation that you build, how you work with people, how you communicate with people, how you support people, how you champion people, like they'll remember that, you know? And you just never know who's going to be at some point in a position to kind of either recommend you or support you in that way, if that makes sense. I had this one person. I'm not gonna. Let's come up with a fake name. Um, Trisha. Call her Trisha. So Trisha, she worked in with me at my first company, and we never really worked closely together. But she was working at first in like a sales type of position, and then Trisha transitioned over to a more brand role, I think. Yeah, brand, I believe. Um, and the reputation that I'd heard about Trisha is that, you know, she was okay. Like she was very much out for herself, which I game respects game, right? Like if you're competitive, you know. But it wasn't like they were like that, but they also didn't really put in the work as much, I guess. Like they were kind of known as somebody that just put in just in like not just enough and then quit, like not just enough on like a work life balance way, but just like would just like do the bare minimum and very much relied on their ability to form the right relation. Okay, schmooze with the right people. Okay, this was Trisha. Um, and I don't know. That's never really sat well with me. I've never really understood that. I mean, I get it. It's important. And a future video, I'll share that piece of advice and that story because that is important, knowing the right people and building the right connections and how sometimes that can even undercut like, hard work from like a reputation perspective. But setting that aside, Trisha was very good at this. And I never forgot that, right? And like I've never really again, like I maybe worked with them on a couple projects and I did see some of that of the like having to prompt Trisha to like, hey, is this done? Like being that kind of person. Um, but I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Fast forward years later, we're talking years, like 5+ years later. I'm working at this one company and Trisha messages me on LinkedIn out of nowhere. Now, here's the thing. I think LinkedIn, we're all professionals. I expect people to message me, you know, like to give advice or asking for recommendations. I'm no stranger to that. But Trisha messaged me out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, I saw they had this opening at your organization. Can you recommend me? Would you be open to recommending me?" And I was like, I mean, can I? And I said, I'm happy to consider. Would you mind sending me your resume so I can take a look at it and I can see how it fits the role? Because I don't just, I mean, my recommendations, I try not to recommend anyone to anything. Like I want to recommend people that I actually believe in. And I Trisha could have grown in her position. Like I don't want to just base it off of who I knew them to be like 10 years ago, or so, like 8 to 10 years ago, right? So I didn't think that was fair. So I wanted to see the resume. And Trisha sent me her resume and it was okay. But I know in the organization that I was working at the time, they really try to find like not one to one, but like practically close to it, or at least know that you tried to put in the effort to tailor your resume to the JD, right? Even if you're like 80 to 90% of the way compatible with the role, um, the way that you tailor the language, like I just knew that that was something that the recruiters were looking for. So I responded back to Trisha on LinkedIn and was like, yeah, actually, resume looks great. Looks like you've grown a lot and developed a lot. Maybe you could think about considering. And I took the time to like put in comments to help them so that way they could tailor their resume to the role so they could get a higher chance of being looked at and potentially being interviewed. And Trisha came back and said, "Look, I'm not going to make any changes to my resume. Are you going to recommend me or not?" So Trisha obviously didn't go that much in terms of their, uh, yeah, you can imagine what I thought then, and frankly, what I said after that. Needless to say, I did not recommend Trisha. And, Trisha got hired at a good firm after. So, and it wasn't like they were not working. I think they were just unhappy with their work situation because they were, I mean, at least on LinkedIn, it showed that they were still employed. So, um, but yeah, that was, and then you can imagine someday if Trisha reaches out again, what I would say. So that's what I mean. Like the people that you work with, the impressions that you leave, try hard to just treat people, just be a good human being, be kind. Like these people, you never know where you're gonna come across them. The world is small. Corporate's even smaller, and you'd be surprised, who works at where that would be willing to vouch for you or help you out based on the reputation that you've and kind of the work that the body of work that you put together while you were working with someone else. So yeah, that's my advice. And I think in life you call that karma, maybe. I don't know. uh, yeah, just be kind, be good, help people, do the right thing, be a decent human being, and yeah, they'll remember that. People will remember that. So what is my random piece of advice for today? You know what? Given everything that's going on, check in. Check in with people. Because especially if you know of anyone in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. There was somebody that I worked with there because they were a client. And I formed a really good friendship with her. And I reached out to her on LinkedIn and was like, hey, we hadn't talked to each other in, oh gosh, like a long time. A long time. At least 5 years. Um, but I checked in anyway and said, hey, I hope. Oh, I want to send another one too. I have another person that I just realized. But I just said, hey, I hope you're doing well. I'm thinking about you. And yeah, it's hard out there. So yeah, check in with people, please. Check in with yourself too. Take care of yourself. And keep hoping. If you're a person of faith, keep praying. I know I am. And stay strong. Stay strong for your community. And we're all gonna get through this together. So we can only get through this together, actually. So thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye.